You know, uh, Whenever we pick a topic related to magic for a deep dive, my brain immediately goes to the blockbuster movie version.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I'm picturing a wizard on a craggy mountain peak screaming at a thunderstorm, throwing fireballs, causing massive property damage.
Right, it's loud.
It's visual, it's undeniable.
It announces itself. I mean, physical magic is basically a structural complaint filed against reality. It bangs on the door until the door breaks.
Yes, exactly. But today, we're looking at a stack of sources that describe something completely different. We're looking at magic that doesn't bang on the door. It picks the lock while you're sleeping.
Yeah.
We are doing a deep dive into the College of Mental Magic at Manaheim Academy. And I have to say, looking at the source material, this is significantly more unsettling than fireballs.
It really is. It's
Yeah.
fascinating,
Mm.
but it is chilling. There's a line in the opening manifesto of the college that I think perfectly sets the stage here.
Oh, the one about the scorch marks?
That's the one. It says that while physical magic leaves scorch marks and rubble, mental magic leaves memories, assumptions, and the unshakable conviction that one has always agreed with the chair.
That line gave me goosebumps.
Right.
The conviction that one have always agreed with the chair, it completely reorients the stakes. We aren't talking about bodily harm here. We're talking about the violation of the self.
Exactly.
And what's fascinating about this stack of documents is that the Academy seems to know exactly how dangerous this is.
Oh, they are hyper aware. This isn't a school for learning how to brainwash people, or at least that's definitely not the goal.
Right.
The curriculum is specifically designed to teach you the restraint necessary not to do that.
Right.
The mission statement is incredibly specific. It's neutrality over persuasion, consent over cleverness.
Which is a beautiful sentiment to put on a plaque, but when you dig into the actual 6 schools within this college, you realize just how difficult that philosophy is to maintain.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we're dealing with telepathy, illusions, memory modification, prophecy, managing that without crossing ethical lines requires a level of discipline that frankly makes physical magic look like child's play.
It's the difference between learning to box and learning open heart surgery. One requires force, the other requires precision and a terrifying amount of responsibility.
So let's unpack this. We have 6 specific schools to cover today: mind shielding, illusions, enchantments, psychics, dreamcraft, and divination.
Yeah.
And overseeing all of it is a dean who, and I think we'll agree on this, is probably the most intimidating figure in the whole university system.
Dean Purist Biscan.
Yes.
Her presence just hangs over every single page of this syllabus. But before we get to the flashy stuff, the mind reading and the future telling, we have to start where the students start. We have to start with defense.
Right, the foundation, the mind shielding department. The sources call this foundational and strongly recommended for everyone, regardless of their major, which makes sense.
It does.
If you are walking around a campus where people can accidentally hear your secrets, you probably want to know how to lock the door.
Precisely. But what jumped out at me was the specific philosophy of the mind shielding department. Because when you hear shield, you think of a wall, right? You think of thick stone, spikes, keeping everything out.
That was my assumption. Just total isolation. But the professor, Yesha Kyungpo, the students call her Mrs. K. She teaches something very different.
Yeah, she does.
She operates out of a classroom called the Quiet Bastion.
Which sounds peaceful until you read the actual description. It's a sound-dampened, thick-walled stone chamber where students they just sit.
In absolute silence. And Mrs. K has a likability rating of 1 out of 5. The documents literally list her as unpopular.
She is the archetype of the unyielding.
Yeah.
And the reason she's unpopular is that she forces students to confront their own mental noise.
Oh, I bet they hate that.
Of course they do. Her theory is that you cannot defend a mind if you don't know what's going on inside it. If you're anxious, scattered, or loud internally, a shield is useless. You can't protect a house if you don't know where the windows are.
The text mentions she notices everything. Uneven breathing, mental leakage, emotional resonance. She catches the disturbance you're about to cause before you even cause it.
Yeah.
That sounds incredible. I love that analogy. It's not about boarding up the club. It's about checking IDs.
Exactly. It's about clarity. You acknowledge the intrusion, whether it's a psychic probe or just a distracting thought, and you politely, firmly decline it.
And once you have that clarity, once you have that bouncer in place, then the curriculum allows you to start learning how to mess with other people's perceptions. Which brings us to a fascinating distinction the college makes between 2 schools that I think people often confuse: illusions and enchantments.
Oh, this is a crucial distinction. On the surface, they seem to achieve the exact same thing, which is fooling someone, but the mechanism is totally different.
Right. Illusions change what you see. Enchantments change how you feel. One is external, one is internal.
Let's look at illusions first. This is run by Professor Nazar Dakil. And reading his bio, I mean, the guy has a well-documented aversion to mirrors.
Which is such a telling character detail for a master illusionist. The notes say his reflections tend to behave independently.
That is just nightmare fuel. Imagine brushing your teeth in the morning and your reflection just stops and stares at you.
If my reflection winked at me, I would drop out immediately. I'd be done.
It's entirely disorienting. And his classroom, the mirror hall, is designed to do exactly that. It's full of floor-to-ceiling mirrors, shifting perspectives, optical tricks. But there is a deep philosophy here. Dakil teaches that illusions aren't lies. They are redirection.
He calls it sensory falsification. You're altering the input.
Yes, but he warns about the cruelty of it. There's a note in his lecture series about how if an illusion replaces reality for too long, it stops being a trick and becomes a prison, like telling someone a bridge is there when it isn't.
So the ethical boundary in illusions is about safety and brevity. You can fool the eye, perhaps to hide something or for entertainment, but you shouldn't break someone's trust in the physical world.
Correct. But then you cross the hall to enchantments, and the ethical boundary gets much, much stickier. Because now we aren't fooling the eyes, we're fooling the heart.
Enchantments. Taught by Mary Laurent, the source explicitly calls this the most dangerous magic in the college. And that surprised me initially because you think of enchantment like a Disney movie. Bippity-boppity-boo.
Oh, it is the exact opposite of Disney. It is terrifying because, and let's go back to the intro here, mental magic leaves assumptions. Enchantment is the art of influencing emotions, habits, and tendencies. It's not making you see a dragon. It's making you feel like running away from the dragon was your idea.
Or making you feel like buying this specific potion was your idea. Or falling in love.
Exactly. And Professor Laurent, she sounds intense. Did you catch the detail about her perfume?
Yes. It says her scent shifts depending on who she's talking to. It smells like nostalgia to one person, like safety to another, like fresh rain to a third.
And the kicker is, it's listed as an unintended side effect of constant microweaving. She is so tuned into emotional manipulation, or adjustment as she might call it, that her magic reacts automatically to make her more appealing to whoever she's near. She's a walking charm spell.
Her classroom is the sigil workshop. It's described as full of gold filaments and delicate tools. It sounds like a watchmaker's shop, but for feelings.
That's a great visual. But the rule here, the prime directive of enchantment is, if they would not choose it freely, you should not enchant it.
Which seems like a paradox to me. If they would choose it freely, why do you need to enchant it? Isn't the whole point of enchantment to change the outcome?
That is the classic debate. The college teaches that enchantment should only be used to reinforce existing will, not override it. It's about greasing the wheels, not building a new engine. If you try to force someone to love you who naturally hates you, the mind fractures. You get rejection psychosis.
So it's about architecture, not control. You can highlight a path, you can make the path look sunny and inviting, but you can't force them to walk it.
Theoretically, yes, but you can see why the consent over cleverness motto is plastered on the walls here. The temptation to just nudge someone a little too hard must be overwhelming, especially if you think you're doing it for their own good.
Right. I'm just enchanting you to be more confident. I'm helping.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that path leads to tyranny very quickly.
Okay, so we've got defending the mind and we've got influencing the mind. Now we need to talk about directly touching the mind, the deep end of the pool. We need to talk about psychics and dreamcraft.
This is where things get invasive. This is where we leave the realm of influence and enter the realm of intrusion.
Let's start with psychics. This is the school of telepathy and empathy. The professor is Isabella Black. And honestly, reading her description, she just sounds exhausted.
She sounds incredibly burdened. The source says she hears truths people never mean to share. Imagine that for a second. Walking through a crowded cafeteria and not just hearing the chatter, but hearing the insecurities, the little lies, the anxieties of 300 people at once. It's not a superpower. It's a sensory overload.
It says she acts as a dampener. Her presence actually softens mental noise.
She has to, for her own sanity. Her classroom, the residence chamber, is kept in this perpetual state of low-hum vibration. Objects float in midair. It's highly charged. But the catchphrase for her department is really lovely. Enter as a guest, leave as one.
That's such a crucial distinction. Enter as a guest. Because psychic magic is inherently rude. You are entering someone else's house without knocking.
You are. And if you don't behave like a guest, If you start rummaging through their drawers, metaphorically speaking, or rearranging their furniture, you risk two things. You risk hurting them, obviously, but you also risk identity bleed.
I saw that term and it scared me. Identity bleed. That's where you forget whose thoughts are whose.
Right. If you spend too much time inside someone else's head, feeling their feelings, thinking their thoughts, you start to lose the boundary of where you end and they begin. You might wake up with their cravings. You might wake up afraid of their phobias. It's a reciprocal hazard.
Which actually transitions perfectly to the next school, because if psychics is about the waking mind and the dangers of connection, dreamcraft is about the subconscious and the dangers of getting lost.
Dreamcraft. This is the domain of Professor Kieran Nightjar.
Who seems to live halfway between asleep and awake. The text says she's comfortable with liminality.
She creates that vibe in her classroom too, the lucid theater. It's misty. Students recline in these semi-floating chairs. It's basically a sleep clinic run by wizards. But the key distinction the source makes here, and this is important for you listening to grasp, is that dreamcraft is not prophecy.
Right, dreams aren't predicting the future here. That's a different department.
Correct. In this system, dreams are processing. The subconscious is trying to file away memories and emotions. The source notes that the subconscious has a fondness for surrealism.
So when you dream about your teeth falling out or showing up to work naked, that's just your brain doing administrative work.
Exactly. It's your brain filing the stress folder. And the Dreamcraft mage isn't there to control the dream like a movie director. They're there to steward it, to navigate it.
I like that word, steward. It implies respect. You're not conquering the dream, you're exploring it.
You have to respect it. Because the subconscious is powerful and weird. If you try to force a dream into a straight line, if you try to make it logical, the mind fights back. You get nightmares, you get loops. So Professor Nightjar teaches students how to be lucid without being controlling.
It's almost like extreme therapy, deep dive therapy, where you can actually see the trauma represented as a monster and talk to it.
Or run away from it, depending on your grade level.
Fair point. Okay, speaking of things that are tricky to navigate, let's talk about the one school that actually does try to look forward. Divination.
Ah, yes. The Moth Lady.
Professor Afsana Parvana, I absolutely love her aesthetic. The sources say she uses tea leaves, candle smoke, and moth flight probability mapping.
Which sounds completely ridiculous and whimsical until you read the next line, which notes that her predictions are alarmingly specific.
She teaches in the Celestial Observatory. It's a dome where the ceiling shows a star-filled sky even at noon. But the twist here, and I think this is so smart, is that divination isn't about certainty. It's about informed uncertainty.
That is the key phrase. We often think of prophecy and fantasy as, this will happen no matter what. But Parvana teaches that the future exists, but it prefers not to be stared at directly.
It's the Heisenberg uncertainty principle applied to time. By looking at it, you change it.
Exactly. And she carries a heavy burden because of that. The text mentions she once delivered a prophecy that was accurate but unwelcome, and it hurt someone she loved. So now she teaches that knowledge of the future can wound just as easily as it can prepare.
It's the difference between knowing it's going to rain and knowing exactly how cold and miserable you're going to be. Sometimes not knowing helps you get through it.
Or the self-fulfilling prophecy dilemma. If I tell you that you're going to fail your test, you might get so anxious that you fail the test. So was I right? Or did I cause it? That's the question that haunts this department.
So she teaches metaphors. She teaches hesitation.
Hesitation really is the theme across this entire college, isn't it?
It is. It's all about pausing before you act. And nowhere is that theme of restraint and terrifying power more obvious than with the dean herself.
Dean Purist Biscayne.
Okay, walk me through her. Because her likability is a 4, which is respected, but the description makes my skin crawl.
She is a Tier 4 likability, which means the students respect her immense power, but she creates deep, deep discomfort. She's physically frail, blind, and pays almost no attention to her appearance. But the source says she sees everything.
There's that detail that she answers questions before you finish asking them.
Before they are fully formed. Imagine how violating that feels. You're talking to your boss, you're formulating a thought, maybe a complaint, maybe a question, and she's already responding to the conclusion you haven't even reached yet.
It says students feel exposed rather than encouraged.
She represents the ultimate reality of mental magic. The mind is not private. To a master like her, you are an open book. There are no secrets. And that is a terrifying thing to be in the presence of. It strips away all your social defenses.
There's also a note about the campus architecture itself, the reflection dome or the Hall of Minds. It says the room remembers visitors.
In a professional manner.
Right. Which is such a dry, bureaucratic way to say something deeply haunting. What does it mean for a room to remember you?
It implies that the walls have ears and they take notes. It implies that every emotion felt in that hall, every spell cast, leaves a residue. The college itself is a living archive of mental states. So even when you leave, a piece of you, a shadow of your thought process stays there.
So when we look at this whole picture, these 6 schools, this terrifying dean, this campus that archives your thoughts, what is the verdict? What are they actually trying to produce here? Because they aren't training battle mages to go fight on the front lines. They aren't throwing fireballs.
No, the verdict is in the college character overview. They prioritize recovery over success. They prioritize consent over cleverness. They're trying to produce practitioners who have godlike power over the human mind, but are terrified to use it.
Because they know the cost.
Because they know that you can fracture a mind without even trying. You can accidentally wipe a childhood memory. You can implant a phobia. You can destroy a person without ever lifting a finger.
It's really interesting to compare this to, say, a college of fire magic. If you mess up with fire, you burn a table. Maybe you burn a building. It's bad, but it's physical. You can rebuild a table. You can rebuild a house.
Exactly. But if you mess up here, you change who someone is. You alter their fundamental self. And you can't always rebuild that. If you erase the memory of someone's mother, that's gone. You can't glue that back together.
Let's go back to that line from the enchantment section, because I think it's the most important takeaway from this entire deep dive.
The most dangerous magic is the kind that feels like it was your own idea.
That stops me in my tracks every time. It makes you wonder about your own life, doesn't it? Why did I buy that shirt? Why did I vote for that person? Why do I suddenly feel angry right now?
It forces you to audit your own convictions. It forces you to look at your own sudden urges and ask, is this me? Or is this external?
Or is it just a really good enchantment?
It's a question without an answer, which is exactly how Professor Parvana and the entire college would like it. They want you to question your perception. They want you to doubt your certainty.
Because certainty leads to mistakes. And in this field, mistakes are catastrophic.
Precisely. Power alongside hesitation. That is the curriculum.
We've covered the quiet walls of mind shielding, the shifting mirrors of illusions, the dangerous perfumes of enchantment, the deep waters of dreamcraft and psychics, and the uncertain stars of divination. It is a lot to take in. It makes me want to go sit in a quiet room for a while.
Ideally a sound-dampened one.
But if you take one thing away, let it be that concept of the bouncer at the door.
Sovereign cognition.
Sovereign cognition. Just because the world is loud and just because people or advertisers or politicians or wizards are trying to get into your head doesn't mean you have to let them in. You have the right to close the door.
It never hurts to double-check the locks on the doors of your mind.
Exactly. So, to you listening, consider how much of your own mind is truly yours right now. And until next time, stay shielded.